Mayor, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Elmwood Park Mayor and Council for September 21st, 2023, to order at 7:02 p.m. On roll call, we have Council Members Dennis. Here. Fasolo, absent. Golubek. Here. Pellegrin. Here. Sheridan. Here. Council President Ballasteri, absent. Mayor Coletti.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome all of you to our public meeting. I do want to say that Councilwoman Sandy Ballasteri is nursing a new knee she acquired, and she's convalescing, and that's why she's not with us this evening. We have a lot of good things in store for you. We just did a 9/11 ceremony, and we're going to be inducting a new police officer here very shortly. But before we do that, I'd like to ask Pastor Ron, would you please bless this meeting for us?
We all stand, please. All heads bowed. Eternal Father, we want to thank you. Thank you for the honor and the privilege of being able to come together and unite in this room. First and foremost, Father, your spirit is welcome. As we go along with this meeting, we just ask you to anoint the heads of each council member. Keep them on one accord. Touch the residents of Elmwood Park and keep your divine protection on our police officers. We ask you this, we magnify your name, we magnify your dominion, and we honor you, and we all say, Amen.
Amen. Mohammed?
We pray for each other. We pray for our safety, for our families, and our loved ones. We pray for healing. We pray for good hearts, good intentions, and hard work, now and forever. Amen.
Amen. Flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Whereas Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of the State of New Jersey require at the commencement of every meeting a statement of compliance be read by the presiding officer. Now, therefore, be advised that the meeting requirements for this meeting have been met by publishing a special meeting notice in the Record and Herald News and by posting such notice in the office of the Borough Clerk, as well as in a public place within the municipal building, and by notifying interested citizens. Said notice was posted and transmitted on January 6th, 2023, and published on January 10th, 2023. Ms. Morris.
Thank you. At this time, we have one standalone resolution. We have Resolution R-344-23, and through you, Mayor, I would read it by title only. It's authorizing the hiring of entry-level police officer Jimmy Rivera. Wait, no.
Call the roll, please.
Can I have a motion on the resolution?
So moved. Second.
First by Pellegrin, second by Sheridan. On roll call, we have Council Members Dennis.
Yes.
Fasolo, absent. Golubek.
Yes.
Pellegrin.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Council President Ballasteri, absent. Motion carries. At this time, I would like to call forward Jimmy Rivera and his family, who will be sworn in by Mayor Coletti, alongside Police Chief Michael Foligno.
Beautiful family, no? Okay. This is special for us this evening. You've been around, and congratulations on elevating to this position. Once I can see why, what gives you the drive. You got a beautiful wife and two beautiful children, and that's all's good, right? A lot of people know Jimmy, and they know the type of person he is, and they love him. And you're very peaceful with him. Otherwise, you know what might happen. Are we kidding you? Okay, so I'm going to swear you in right now. I
Jim Rivera,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United
of
States
the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same,
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority
under the authority
of the people,
of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of
of the office of
police officer
police officer
according
according
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God. Congratulations. You getting jealous there, Jimmy?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Congratulations.
Council comments. Councilwoman Dennis?
Should I go ahead? Okay. It's like a whole thing. I don't want to interrupt.
Councilwoman Dennis?
Sure. Jimmy, I just wanted to congratulate you on your new position. We're going to continue to pray for you, for your safety, for your family, and just want to wish you lots of luck in your new position. Congratulations.
Councilman Golubek?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank the members of the Elmwood Park Police Department that came out tonight. I think we have about a third of our force out tonight. It says a lot about the department in itself. I'd like to welcome Officer Rivera. I think we've reached a point where serving as a police officer in Elmwood Park is a privilege. It's an honor. It's a privilege to be selected. Many people would like that. And I just ask that, every day of your career in the streets of Elmwood Park that you serve with honor and integrity. And I wish you all the best. Good luck.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Pellegrin?
Yes. Congratulations, Officer Rivera. That sounds wonderful. You are such a caring and respectful individual. Your work ethic is impeccable. I am so happy for you and your family. You truly deserve this. Wishing you a long, safe, and successful career here with the best police department ever. Celebrate this special moment. You deserve it. Congratulations.
Councilwoman Sheridan?
Thank you, Mayor. Officer Rivera, I just wanted to say congratulations, stay safe, and God bless.
Like I said before, Jimmy's a favorite here, a well-liked person with a well-groomed, exciting police department, one of the best in Bergen County, if not the best. I think we can hold on to that, and now you're part of that, which only makes us better. So stay the course, God be with you, damn the torpedoes, and full steam ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short recess. Somebody wants to take some pictures, feel free. We'll be back in 5-10 minutes like that.
Okay, Mayor, I would like to reestablish a quorum. On roll call, we have council members Dennis.
Here.
Solo absent. Golubek.
Here.
Pellegrin.
Here.
Sheridan.
Here.
Council President Ballasteri absent. Mayor Coletti.
Here.
We have reestablished a quorum. Moving on to ordinances that's on first reading, we have Resolution R-345-23, introduced ordinance number 23-34 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled Bond Ordinance to Authorize the Making of Various Public Improvements and the Acquisition of a New Fire Engine, including original apparatus and equipment, and by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $730,000 to pay the full or supplemental cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Be passed and adopted on first reading. Be it resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, October 19th, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. or as soon thereafter as same can be heard, at which time any persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk, being she, is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper a notice of introduction and final hearing as required by law.
Thank you. Mr. Foligno, would you mind elaborating on this?
Yes, Mayor, these are several bonds, improvements that we're making, one being a fire truck. And some of the stuff is old, prices changed, and we had to add to these things to get these projects to fruition.
So it's three different items being lumped into the one
That's correct,
sum.
Mayor.
Okay. May I have a motion on the ordinance?
So moved.
Any discussion?
I need a second.
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 Got it.
Call the roll, please.
First by Pellegrin, second by Dennis. On roll call, we have council members Dennis.
Yes.
Fasolo absent. Golubek.
Yes.
Pellegrin.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Council President Ballasteri absent. Motion carries. Next, we have Resolution R-346-23, introduced ordinance number 23-35 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to amend ordinance 23-18, fixing the salary, wage, and compensation of the officers, employees, and the servants of the Borough of Elmwood Park for the year 2023 be passed and adopted on first reading. And be it resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, October 19th, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. or as soon thereafter as same can be heard, at which time any persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk, being she, is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper a notice of introduction and final hearing as required by law.
Mr. Foligno, would you mind breaking this one down?
Yes, Mayor, this was for an employee, a department head, who has been performing in the position for some time, and it is more of a salary adjustment, and she's brought up to industry standards.
Thank you. May I have a motion on the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
First by Pellegrin, second by Golubek. On roll call, we have council members Dennis.
Yes.
Fasolo absent. Golubek.
Yes.
Pellegrin.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Council President Ballasteri absent. Motion carries. Moving on to ordinances that's on second reading, we have Resolution R-347-23, introduced ordinance number 23-27 on second reading, whereas a public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled Bond Ordinance to Authorize the Undertaking of Storm and Sanitary Sewer Improvements at various locations and by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $130,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, August 17, 2023, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given an opportunity to be heard concerning the same. Now therefore it be resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled Bond Ordinance to Authorize the Undertaking of Storm and Sanitary Sewer Improvements at various locations and by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $130,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds, to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, passed on final reading.
May I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Anyone from the public here to speak on this ordinance and this ordinance alone? If not, I will close the public portion. May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
So moved.
Call the roll, please.
First by Pellegrin, second by Dennis. On roll call, we have council members Dennis. Solo, absent. Golubek.
Yes?
Pellegrin.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Council President Valesari, absent. Motion carries. Resolution R-348-23, introduce ordinance number 23-28 on second reading. Whereas the public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled Bond Ordinance to Appropriate an Additional Sum of $850,000 for the installation of a synthetic turf athletic field at the Borough Park and by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, to make a down payment to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such additional appropriation and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, was introduced and passed in a meeting held on Thursday, August 17, 2023, and that further consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given an opportunity to be heard concerning the same, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled Bond Ordinance to Appropriate an Additional Sum of $850,000 for the installation of a synthetic turf athletic field at Borough Park and by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, to make a down payment to authorize the issuance of bond to finance such additional appropriation and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, passed on final reading.
Well, that was a long explanation there. I may have a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Anyone from the public here to speak on this elongated ordinance? If not, I'll close the public portion. May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
So moved.
Call the roll, please.
First by Pellegrin, second by Dennis. On roll call, we have council members Dennis.
Yes.
Fasolo, absent. Golubek.
Yes?
Pellegrin.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Council President Valesari, absent. Motion carries. Resolution R-349-23, introduce ordinance number 23-29 on second reading. Whereas a public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled Bond Ordinance to Authorize the Undertaking of Various Improvements to Elmwood Drive Park and by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $600,000 to pay the cost thereof, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, August 17, 2023, and that further consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given an opportunity to be heard concerning the same, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled Bond Ordinance to Authorize the Undertaking of Various Improvements to Elmwood Drive Park and by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $600,000 to pay the cost thereof, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, passed on final reading.
A motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Anyone from the public here to speak on this ordinance? If not, I'll close the public portion. May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
First by Pellegrin, second by Sheridan. On roll call, we have council members Dennis. Yes. Fasolo, absent. Golubek.
Yes.
Pellegrin.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Council President Valesari, absent. Motion carries. Resolution R-350-23, introduce ordinance number 23-30 on second reading. Whereas the public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled Ordinance Adding Section 37-2 at SEC Mandatory Development Fee to Chapter 37 Affordable Housing of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, August 17, 2023, and that further consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given an opportunity to be heard concerning the same, now therefore it be resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled Ordinance Adding Section 37-2 at SEC Mandatory Development Fee to Chapter 37 Affordable Housing of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park, passed on final reading.
Motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Anyone from the public here to speak on this ordinance? If not, I'll close the public portion. May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
First by Pellegrin, second by Sheridan. On roll call, we have council members Dennis. Yes. Fasolo, absent. Golubek.
Yes.
Pellegrin.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Council President Valesari, absent. Motion carries. Resolution R-351-23, introduce ordinance number 23-31 on second reading, whereas the public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled Ordinance Repealing and Replacing Inconsistencies Found in Section 37-1 et sec, Affordable Housing Obligation of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, August 17, 2023, and that further consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given an opportunity to be heard concerning the same. Now therefore it be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled Ordinance Repealing and Replacing Inconsistencies Found in Section 37-1 et sec, Affordable Housing Obligation of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park passed on final reading.
Motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Anyone from the public here to speak on this ordinance? If not, I will close the public portion. May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
So moved.
Call the roll, please.
First by Pellegrin, second by Dennis. On roll call, we have council members Dennis.
Yes.
Fasolo, absent. Golubek.
Yes.
Pellegrin.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Council President Ballesteri, absent. Motion carries. Resolution R-352-23, introduce ordinance number 23-32 on second reading, whereas the public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to amend the code of the Borough of Elmwood Park, New Jersey, amending the Borough Code and all general ordinances of the borough, more specifically Chapter 34, more specifically Section 43-31.14E of the Cannabis Ordinance within the Borough of Elmwood Park was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, August 17, 2023, and that for the consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting, and whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given an opportunity to be heard concerning the same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to amend the code of the Borough of Elmwood Park, New Jersey, amending the Borough Code and all general ordinances of the borough, more specifically Chapter 34, more specifically Section 43-31.14E of the Cannabis Ordinance within the Borough of Elmwood Park, passed on final reading.
May I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Anyone from the public here to speak on this ordinance? If not, I will close the public portion. May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
So moved.
Call the roll, please.
First by Pellegrin, second by Dennis. On roll call, we have council members Dennis.
Yes.
Fasolo, absent. Golubek.
Yes.
Pellegrin.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Council President Ballesteri, absent. Motion carries. Resolution R-353-23, introduce ordinance number 23-33 on second reading, whereas the public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to amend the code of the Borough of Elmwood Park, New Jersey, amending the Borough Code and all general ordinances of the borough, more specifically Chapter 4, Licensing and Business Regulations, Section 4.7, clarifying application fees and license fees, clarifying types and numbers of licenses that may be issued, was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, August 17, 2023, and that for the consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting, and whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given an opportunity to be heard concerning the same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to amend the code of the Borough of Elmwood Park, New Jersey, amending the Borough Code and all general ordinances of the borough, more specifically Chapter 4, Licensing and Business Regulations, Section 4.7, clarifying application fees and license fees, clarifying types and numbers of licenses that may be issued, passed on final reading.
Motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Anyone from the public here to speak on this? Thank you, Michael.
Thanks. Good evening. I'm here about ordinance 2333. How many cannabis licenses are we talking about?
Michael? Sal?
We're looking at about,
How many is that?
in all together, in the various categories,
Right.
18.
It's 22, right? Because last time it was 17.
Yeah, it was, but then when looking at it, the way the state requirements are, and looking at what we have been receiving application-wise, so it's to extend possibilities.
Now, given that there's many different, I think there's 6 different types. Okay. Now, I know there's taxes that the borough will eventually reap the benefit of, and I believe it's typically 2% of gross sales, I guess.
Depends. Actually, for manufacturing, there's various fees. For manufacturing, there's various fees which are large for the initial amount on a yearly basis. Then you have, besides that, a percentage of up to 2% of gross sales that the borough will be getting on a calculated
So
quarterly
it's
basis.
fees and 2%.
Yeah.
Okay. Just thinking of what things cost. So say your retail establishment, it would take, and I would assume at some point this could possibly cause hiring more police or whatever to staff properly, that it would take about $7 or $8 million of sales just to pay a police officer at 2%, including benefits and staffing. It's about 140 plus benefits. Not all police officers, probably the average.
I'm sorry, you're calculating what?
If you have a retail establishment
Right.
and you're going to collect 2% of its total sales, and it was $7 million, that would give you about $140,000.
2%.
Right. That's what I said, it would pay for a police officer. Okay, so in the end, one, that's correct. And it really wouldn't pay for it as they progress, okay. There's 22. I noticed recently in Patterson, I believe the mayor there had wanted a certain amount, and the council there declined to do this. How is the number? I know originally it started out much smaller than this.
When initially the statute was created, it was new to everybody. Then, because of the nuance and the difficulty that the legislature was having in figuring out what they really wanted to do, they created a commission. Now, the commission, they gave to the commission all the powers necessary to make all sorts of rules and regulation. And I'm telling you, on a daily basis, you could have one meeting and all of a sudden there's 15, 20 amendments to the regulations. So as they were amending, we had to comply with those amendments and extend the regulations. Initially, when we actually started, there was only 4 available licenses. Then 3 different type of licenses were created based on the commission, and they created them. So we had to comply with those. The initial intent was always to minimize each one of them, but as applications were not being processed through the state, we had to extend them in order to give other opportunities in the event that those people wouldn't get the license from the state. So the process is like putting the cart before the horse, and then the horse had to push the cart instead of pulling it. So we had to first, the boroughs would have to give an opportunity to approve an individual for them to be considered by the state. The state then can reject them. That will cause a problem for the borough if we didn't have somebody or 2 more standing by. So to create that possibility, we had to give an invitation to extend it, so that there have been people that have not been processed and been rejected by the state, that have made an application. So now we have to come back again and potentially.
Who suggests the number is what I'm saying. Is it go through the
Numbers were.
cannabis board? Or does it?
The numbers were by what an average of other municipalities have approved this kind of
ordinance so that we could be competitive. And also, the state doesn't put any numbers. It leaves it to the municipality.
Yeah, much like they do with zoning.
Yeah. And what happens is, based on what the board, the cannabis board sees applications before them, they make a recommendation.
And that's what they made, 23?
They recommend it based on their application, their experience, or what their...
Experience of none.
Excuse me?
Do they have any experience? You're saying their experience, the
Their
state.
experience with regards to having reviewed applications before them, and what is pending and what is not pending.
Okay, now, so that numbers is arrived at, does that go in some sort of approval process through the cannabis board and rise up then to the council?
And this is where you have the ordinance.
So they have a process of voting?
It's discussed. It's discussed in executive sessions. It's proposed by the members who are part of the board.
Right.
All right, and an ordinance is requested by the board.
As you may recall, I asked at the last meeting about the cannabis board, and quite a few meetings ago, you said that they were going to advertise that there were going to be public meetings. They never did.
Well, I had discussion with the cannabis attorney, and there was a misunderstanding the last time that he didn't convey it to the clerk didn't know, but I requested that he would, in the future, convey that to the clerk so that the clerk can post it.
It's getting paid $10,000 to do that.
Well, for all intents and purposes, Mr. Freitag, that's a courtesy. The board doesn't have to advertise it. Okay? So,
I know that
I notice that I look through the legals all the time. Most towns that have them have advertised meetings.
it's a courtesy, and which we are going to extend at my request.
So these
And
are
at
just,
the council.
it's just a courtesy.
Absolutely.
well, we should be advertising these meetings.
Absolutely.
I know they're trying to put one together now, so you should get a notice shortly on the next meeting. I agree with you about the fact that the public...
And everybody here agrees with the way this is going. Thank
All right,
you.
thank you, Jeff. Anybody else care to speak? Yes. Name, rank, and serial number.
Hi. Yes, Jeanette Randazzo, 102 Franklin Street in Elmwood Park, New Jersey. I just have a question because I noticed that at one point we had a 500 feet distance from the school zone, and I see now it's changed to 250 feet school zone. Why did we change that? I mean, why are we having it even closer to the schools? Help me out here.
Okay. Maybe I can explain that. Initially, when I was the individual who actually began the process and set up the ordinance initially, with time, it has become evident that not only the original ordinance that I prepared, because of changes in the state statute and the state commission and the things that they have done, have created other licenses, which are not what we had anticipated as being initially, agricultural, growing, and manufacturing. It just so happened now that they went into and extended to micro licensing, which is small sales, organizations which can only do certain limited sales. With that in mind, in order to accommodate, because the ordinance initially only set out a certain areas where it would meet the requirements. Now that we have these other licenses, which are lesser involved licenses, we had to open up the areas to allow those because of the state mandates. Okay? So in view of those circumstances with the planners, there was a suggestion and recommendation based on their reviewing the town and the property. In order to keep these other type of licenses in a certain area, they recommended that we amend the ordinance to allow a certain other part of the town to allow these particular licenses. And that was picked to be the corridor of 46.
Right.
Okay? In that corridor and in every other area, there is no school area that would comply with the requirements. However, in certain spots of 46, if you leave it at 500 feet, anything that's available across the highway, which is 4 lanes, 8 lanes, that individual in that area couldn't get the license because of the school being on the other side of 46. Okay, so in order to accommodate that particular licensing, which the state supports very heavily, okay, and we can't do just a spot, which makes no sense, we have to accommodate and amend the area of 46 and every other part, which will not cause, whether it be 500 or 200 feet, it wouldn't make any difference.
But even though the state's allowing this now, isn't it still up to the individual towns or boroughs to, you can't go under. In other words, they say 250, you can't say, well, I want to do 100. But you could always make it more, so isn't it?
The borough has control over the distance.
Right. That's what I'm
The
saying.
state does not control the
Right,
distance.
so,
But I can tell you what the state can do is say, well, we authorize this particular license individual to be in that area. You have to accommodate it. And that's what we're doing.
I don't agree, but
I
it is
neither
what it
do I.
is.
Personally, between you and I don't agree on a lot of things, and I'm an attorney.
I know.
But I still have to do it because the law mandates. And I can tell you right now, this, and I'm going to be very honest with all of you and to the council, I've always been very honest with them with regards to this particular ordinance. It is impossible to prevent not to have it because it has a tremendous effect on revenue. I'm not for it personally.
Okay,
I wouldn't agree to do it, but the state now mandates
as well
it.
as I.
Okay, so I have to abide by whatever the laws
Right,
are.
but because you agreed this and you're following state mandate, should it not be brought up to the town people to say, listen, guys, we're going to do this, we're going to get it anyway, but we're going to,
Well,
will you give them a choice? Because I
Okay,
hate
let
to see
me-
them picketing when they start doing this, like
Let
what's
me
going on
say this
here?
to you. The choice
Mm-hmm.
in the state of New Jersey was given to the people. And
To
the
have it or
people
not.
chose
Yes.
to have it.
I know they chose that, but they may not be able to now turn it down, because once you vote on it, it's that. But
It's
could they be
voted-
upset?
It's voted by election. It was in
I
the
know,
election.
but I don't think they voted on having it 250 feet from a school.
No, but that's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
Okay.
The council has to abide by and fulfill the requirements of the law.
Okay.
I would hate, as an attorney, I would hate to put the council in a position that they would have to fight the state when the state says, well, we gave the individual a license. And the only thing that's holding that license is your 500 feet. Fix it. That's what they would say.
Jeanette, do you know where Gantner Avenue School is? Do you know where the proposed location for the business is?
Pretty much.
And you still
I
have
know
concerns?
it's not there, but still, you're going to see parents with young children.
And what do you think they're going to see? I'm just asking. They're not allowed to advertise on the outside of the building
No,
to
I
show
know.
that it's
No.
a dispensary.
Believe me, those kids will find out one way or another. No, I
This is
understand.
elementary school, it's not high school.
No, I know, it's
I
an
just want to give you the facts so you understand.
No, I
Maybe
understand.
maybe you
Yeah.
weren't properly informed. I just want you to,
No, I know where again. I
Okay.
know the distance with the, like he's saying, it's across the
in
street, 4
between,
lanes.
in between the school
Mm-hmm.
and where the business is going to be, is probably one of the seediest motels in the state. And that's not a concern for anybody. But we're worried about this. I'm just putting it in perspective, right?
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Anyone else care to speak on this ordinance? Yes.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Michael. I just wanted to comment, I've been in the cannabis space since 2017, and just listening to some of the concerns here. So cannabis dispensaries, anybody under the age of 21 cannot enter a cannabis dispensary. In terms of typical average sales from a retail perspective, it usually trends anywhere from 10 million up to 50 million. Now, 50 million is more of a corporate cannabis company. Your neighbor down the street in Rochelle Park has a cannabis corporation, for lack of a better word. They're considered multi-state operators because they have multiple locations throughout many different states. And so they're generating close to $50 million a year, which obviously for Rochelle Park, that's a lot of tax revenue, correct? And so just wanted to address that. But in terms of really, from someone who's been in the industry for many years, I see towns that are allowing smoke shops, and they're selling Delta 8 products. So they're unlicensed, unregulated shops, which that's where we really should be worried about, because kids 18 can walk into these shops. And by the way, many towns in our state have opted out of regulated, licensed cannabis companies and are allowing these smoke shops in. And there's no tax revenue. And again, 18 years, kids 18 years can go into it. So that's from a advocacy lobbyist perspective, that's my concern, because we do promote fair and responsible businesses from a cannabis perspective. So I just wanted to make that comment. Hopefully I gave some ease here, but I'm here if you want to talk about it any further. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the most pertinent thing you said there was the age is 21 to purchase, correct? Anyone else care to speak on this ordinance? If not, I'll close the public portion. May I have a motion on the ordinance to adopt?
So moved.
A second.
Call the roll, please. Oh,
Sorry,
we
can I do
have
the
we have discussion?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make a quick comment, and I respect all the different opinions on this subject. I know the Cannabis Board exists, I know they have a purpose, we set that up and everything, but every time there's an ordinance related to cannabis, related to zoning, related to license numbers, it is the governing body that makes that final decision. Whether it's a recommendation coming up, or whether it's one person that says, hey, I have an idea to do this. So every time we've done that, it's not just taking a recommendation, and I believe, I want to say, I don't want to misquote myself, but I believe every single marijuana-related ordinance has been unanimous on the council, or at least 99%. Maybe there was a disagreement somewhere along the line, but generally speaking, we've been on the same page. This 250-foot zone is, if there was ever an exception or a reason to make that, this fits. It fits like a glove. You can't even walk the direction of where this plaza is located. There's no sidewalk. You have to be on the highway. So I see no crossover between school children and this kind of business. And I just do want to make a point that, there was a referendum in the state of New Jersey. Obviously, the vote wasn't to how should we do this, what what are the dimensions or the distances, but in Elmwood Park specifically, 3,607 people voted yes and 2,007 people voted no. So I do want to put that. I did think our residents and then the residents of the state of New Jersey gave a mandate that yes, this is okay, and figure out how to do it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
First by Pellegrin, second by Dennis. On roll call, we have Councilmembers Dennis. Yes. Pasolo absent. Golubek.
Yes.
Pellegrin.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Council President Ballasteri absent. Motion carries. Moving on to our consent agenda, we have resolutions R-354-23, approval of payroll, R-355-23, approval of bills list, R-356-23, amendment to resolution R-308-23, resolution R-357-23, capital budget amendment, R-358-23, appointment of part-time public safety telecommunicator, police department, Kevin Wilkins, R-359-23, authorized vacation buyback, R-360-23, resolution authorizing tax exemption for disabled veteran, R-361-23, resolution to redeem third-party tax lien, R-362-23, resolution to refund overpayment, R-363-23, authorized change order number 1 and current estimate number 1, improvements to Rosemont Park, R-364-23, authorized current estimate number 2, FY 2021 NJDOT Mola Boulevard improvements, R-365-23, authorized current estimate number 3, FY 2021 NJDOT Mola Boulevard improvements, R-366-23, appoint part-time keyboard and clerk 1, Anna D. Pasquale, Finance Office, R-367-23, authorized purchase of equipment, Police Department, R-368-23, resolution to enter into a grant agreement, FY 2023 Community Development Block Grant, R-369-23, appointment of Recreation Department staff for the 2023-2024 school year after school program, R-370-23, approved 2023-2024 flu professional services agreement between County of Bergen and Borough of Elmwood Park, R-371-23, authorizing and granting the Chief of Police and/or its designated agent to execute any and all documentations presented by a recovery automobile title service, R-372-23, hiring employees to staff the Elmwood Park Emergency Medical Service Unit, R-373-23, appointment of firefighters, R-374-23, approved block party request, R-375-23, appointment of special officer, R-376-23, resignation of firefighter, R-377-23, removal of firefighter, R-378-23, leave of absence of firefighter, R-379-23, resolution recognizing the month of September as Hunger Action Month, R-380-23, hiring employees to staff the Elmwood Park Emergency Medical Service Unit, R-381-23, resolution to approve the consent agenda.
May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
First by Pellegrin, second by Dennis. On roll call, we have Councilmembers Dennis. Yes. Pasolo absent. Golubek.
Yes.
Pellegrin.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Council President Ballasteri absent. Motion carries. Moving on to departmental report, we have the Board of Health meeting minutes from June 12, 2023.
Motion to accept.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Next, we have applications. We have Mission Kid Success Raffle for October 14, 2023, and the VFW Post 281 Auxiliary Raffle for September 30th, 2023.
Motion to accept this application.
So moved.
Any discussion?
I need a second. Second. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, Mayor, at this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you for council reports.
Thank you. Council reports. It's that time, ladies and gentlemen. We will start with Councilwoman Dennis. She's so lonely down there.
Hi, guys.
Got to keep her awake, I think.
I just wanted to congratulate Officer Rivera one more time, wishing him lots of luck in his new position and progress, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Golubek.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one thing. At the next work session, the fire department is going to be requesting an audience with the council. The last engine truck that has reached its life expectancy is basically up. They've put their presentation together. So with your permission, if we could indulge them at the next work session, hear their presentation and discuss it as a council after.
This has nothing to do with the approved truck we did tonight?
Two separate, yeah, this is a different company.
And those trucks came online this close to each other?
Yes, Elmwood Park, somewhere down the line, they all got bundled up, so.
So how old, what year is the truck?
I don't want to,
2000.
no, it's not 25.
I think
It's
that's 2004.
2004, so it's close to 20. But they'll have all the specifics. We're not going to make a decision on the spot, just have their presentation.
Now, I know it's very important that we, we take care of safety equipment, but in the previous years, we would take those trucks to 23 and 24 and 25 years. Now, this isn't...
So I'm sorry to cut you off, Mayor. The only thing I'll say is that the build-out time for whatever they're proposing is 3 years.
It's 3 years?
Yeah, and they'll elaborate into that. But the one they've already been waiting. They're on this year 2 right now. The one that we just had to do the change, and they may get it by this time next year.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I understand that. So the 20 turns into 23 years, which is in the ballpark from past practices. Okay.
That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilwoman Sheridan.
Usually he goes to you, that's why I wasn't ready.
I like to keep everybody on their toes,
All right, thank you, ma'am. The Elmwood Park Homeowners Association is going to Wing Creek Casino tomorrow. There's still, if you are interested in going, please call Linda at 201-966-7694. Also, Elmwood Park Homeowners is having Meet the Candidate Night. That will be Wednesday, September 27th, 7 o'clock at the Elmwood Park Senior Center. It's an opportunity to meet the candidates running for Board of Education and running on the council. If you have any questions, can you RSVP to let Linda know you're going at 201-982-4919. Progress.
And the lady that is hosting that, what's it, the Candidates Night? She happens to be right with us this evening.
Yes.
Linda Colombini.
Yes.
There you go. Wow, look at that.
What a coincidence.
Most applaud received tonight. Thank you, Councilwoman.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Pellegrini.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My Board of Health update. They will be having their 3rd annual Elmwood Park Celebrate Seniors event. The date is September 30th. The location is Market Street from Muller Boulevard to Pine Street. The time is 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Mark your calendars for this very special event. The free flu clinic will be held on September 28th for our Elmwood Park residents. Location Borough Hall, time 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. For further information or questions, please call 201-796-1457, extension 604, and their next meeting will be held on Monday, October 16th at 7 p.m. The Residents Assistance Program update. September is Hunger Action Month to bring awareness of hunger in America and to promote ways to help those in need. Last Friday, the Residents Assistance Program, the People's Pantry, teamed up with Strangers Helping Strangers organization to help support these efforts. Thank you to Chris from Strangers Helping Strangers, Angela Fava, our Elmwood Park PD, and all the volunteers who are always on hand to help these both organizations. Teamwork makes great things happen. It really was a great event. We gave hundreds of bags of food away. Everyone was so grateful, and teaming up with Strangers Helping Strangers was a good way to help this cause. And lastly, the new Chamber of Commerce update. They had their meeting Tuesday, September 19th. They're all still in the process of establishing this new chamber. Many ideas and visions were shared about how to help our businesses thrive and to work hand in hand with our town officials to have a successful business district. Thank you to Sal Ingrafia, our borough attorney, for helping us through this process. And also thank you to Andrew Tessalano for spearheading this new chamber. Sal's going to be at our next meeting, which is going to be a very important one to help establish this new chamber quickly. Hopefully, we're shooting for the end of the year. Due to COVID, the chamber kind of didn't reopen again, but we're working very hard, and thanks to Sal's efforts and other efforts, we're going to get this done. It's going to be bigger and better than ever, and I'm really excited about the future with our chamber. Thank you.
I'm working along with you, Lorraine, is Andrew Tisolano, right?
Yes.
He's very instrumental in reestablishing the organization. And those three organizations you mentioned, they're very vital to our town. They're running smooth. So all participants should take a little bow for themselves. That's all you're going to get, though. It's just a little bow. Yes, please.
Just for clarification purposes, I am involved in helping the establishing and assisting the future Chamber of Commerce, not as the borough attorney, but as an attorney and a resident of the state, this great borough of ours.
Thank you. Thank you, Sal. Okay, I think we covered it all. With that, I think I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone from the public here to speak? But first, let me get a motion to open it to the public. I think that would help. Motion, please?
Second.
No discussion on that? We don't need it? All in favor? Thank you. Okay, now I can open it to the public. And it's our good friend, Kenny. Kenny's back in town. We missed you, Kenny.
Yeah. Hey, Mayor and Councilman and...
Press the button.
Okay. I just want to tell you something that you should look into, because it might get to the same thing we had before. There's a big fire again if this building's building like no tomorrow in the city, and we want to have a sprinkler system in the system, make sure, and because we don't want to have the same thing we had last time, and fire was almost burning in the city hall. And the mail, you know what I'm talking about? And I think this building is too big for that land. No, the one with the building in Macau. That building is tall. It's very tall. Somebody should look into it and see what's going on with that, because it looks too big, and if it gets a fire, it's gonna go over by us again.
Well, we'll have to take a look at that, give it some consideration, Kenny.
The Macau, they don't know what they're doing. Is that Macau doing that again? It is? Own that land?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the last part of that.
Macau, paper mill.
Macau, right.
They still own that land?
Is it what?
Do they own the land?
What?
But who owns it now? Because whoever it is now, it looks like a giant, big building.
Okay.
And I'm afraid it's gonna happen again. We're gonna have big fire, and we're gonna have...
Crow's building? Yeah. Kenny, you got to understand that they will have to pass stringent fire laws. Marcal was aged there, and even though they came up to all the safety requirements,
Right.
it's still an older building.
But I'm just saying to you, we almost had very bad destruction over here when all the fire came over to our places here. And the fire department didn't care for that side too much.
Did the fire reach your house?
Yeah, a little bit, it did.
Yeah?
I saw fire coming out and it was gonna hit me on my arm. I got right inside.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a perfect storm there, between the cold weather, the winds, and then Markel, a paper manufacturer. It was perfect. But this new company is a warehouse. They're not manufacturing paper. I don't know exactly what they do.
All right, but I'm just saying to you, if we have that same problem again, I don't like it. Because I'm so close to here, and it's like now far from the building I am.
Okay,
Now, I'm just saying,
okay.
somebody should look into that. That's all I'm worried about.
We'll take a look at that, Kenny.
Yeah, because I don't want to, you know.
No, you want to avoid a tragedy. I understand.
Right.
Okay, you got it, buddy.
All right, thank you. Oh, but then the other thing is, Liz Morgan's still out. She didn't come back yet.
Okay.
She's still out.
All right, thank you, Kenny. Always good to hear from you. Anybody else care to speak? Yes, sir. That fellow with the Yankee signature on his chest there. Seem to remember this guy's name.
Yeah. Glenn Pedagano, 262 Mola Boulevard, Elmwood Park. We had a rec meeting this week where I discussed issues that we had been going over for several months. And after being ignored for several months, I brought all these issues back to the rec as a resident, since I wore out my welcome in 2 terms as a advisory board member. Nobody realized that I was in my 3rd term and I didn't belong there. So that was pretty understandable. It was also quite convenient because when I was there, I ran across problems that I discovered at the rec. As chair of the advisory board and liaison for basketball, I brought my concerns to the rec director. After my 3rd try to get some answers to an issue I had, I was ignored on that issue until till today. With all the talking I did on Monday, it was unfortunate that the rec director, during the whole meeting, had his face looking at the phone and texting while 3 residents were talking. If I say he looked up once, that would be a lot. It was the most disgusting thing I ever saw from a professional. If I did that to you, or if you were up there texting, you know not to do that. I mean, this is a borough employee and a head of a department who's supposed to engage the public. Well, I guess I'm not the public, because every time I came to him with issues, I was told to go away. It was my job to find out why there was such, I'll tell you what happened. I know you know, because I sent this to all of you. And with all the issues that I sent to you and others that have been mentioned, this man still got a $25,000 raise. It was my job to find out why there was such a difference in teams in the 10 and 11-year-old level rec league. One team had 6 advanced players and no girls, totaling 13 players. Another team had no traveling players, 3 girls, 10 total. This team was destroyed in all but 1 game. I was also upset that all teams were not included in the playoffs after 30 years or more. These families paid for instructional basketball, not cutthroat basketball. To keep teams out of the playoffs in the instructional league, there's something wrong there. I'm very sorry, but that's against all my better judgment. But I was told, too bad. Since coaches are hard to come by, my daughter and I volunteered to coach. or a team would be without a coach, as it happened the year before. We stepped up after a few weeks into the season. We coached a team who was ignored for 3 weeks. No practices. They would just go there and shoot around with no real instruction. Gina, my daughter, donated her time and was almost 8 months pregnant when she did this. After a game that was disturbing to all present, including the rec employees in attendance, where a coach used lewd and offensive language and aggressively moved in our direction, I told Penny, I will call the police. She asked me not to and said, this will be taken care of by the rec director. That never happened. Gina sent an email describing the situation. She received no response, along with other people. This is why we can't get coaches. Gina, she described that day. Following a very poor display of sportsmanship during the rec basketball league, which included running up the score and keeping starting players in till the end of the game. A dispute between coaches ensued where the coach, in name, was accused of calling me a faggot by a team member's father, who was standing next to me. I did not hear it, but he insisted he said it. When I was approached, after he denied the accusation, going on to continue in an aggressive stance and using other words and calling me doofus quite out loud and pointing at me and stepping at him as though stepping at us as though to intimidate us in a physical manner. There were parents, coaches, and rec staff in the immediate vicinity. The rec staff that was there said that this would be taken care of, which was assumed to include not only the incident after the game, but also the lousy portrayal of sportsmanship by the coaches on the other team. Gina was the head coach for Penn State. Near the end of the season, she compared the original 2 rosters, and one was updated. After looking through emails and texts of what went on during that time, I realized I was given 3 reasons for the change of players on our team. 2 reasons were from the rec and they contradicted each other. And the other was from one of the parents on my team who said totally different story that she was told by the rec director. You, the council, was given my findings at a meeting with the mayor, Councilwoman Lorraine, Councilwoman Terry, and Councilwoman Dennis, and our BA. It was also submitted in email. I want to thank, actually, you'll be surprised, our BA for the attempts he made to resolve this issue. I thought he was ignoring it, but he wasn't. Just, he wasn't going to challenge me because he didn't know the answer, probably. Nobody challenged my findings. Nobody asked me a question, and nobody said, we're really sorry that the 10 kids on your team were totally destroyed during this season. But the rec director is the person who knows the real story. I asked again at the rec meeting. I told you what happened with his phone. 3 residents and the advisory board witnessed a grown man acting like this, like a 13-year-old boy. I realize now he cannot justify what happened because he was probably protecting his bosses, whichever one of them that may have been. And for being quiet, he was awarded $25,000. Not for doing his job to protect children, and giving them fairness, but by looking the other way when his bosses wanted favors for their friends and their children. You know what I sent you, and you know how the situation went down. And I'm very disappointed that 0 people except the mayor, Lorraine, and Terry came to me.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question? Who
No,
are the bosses?
No, I'm not done.
All
I
right,
think all families who participate in rec sports must know what to watch out for to protect their children. All the advisory board members agree that he should be suspended. I'm talking about the coach who has a violent actions, and silence is acceptance. I think the rec director should resign and or give up wherever he's getting his information from.
Glenn, let me say this. We've went over this in the past. We've had a meeting on this. I understand your frustrations. You've sat up here as a councilman, and you've heard situations like this.
No, I haven't. I never heard of this. Never before have I heard of kids being jockeyed around a league so that one guy can have a super team and destroy another. You have it in emails. I got 3 different reasons why this happened. All were lies.
You do realize that is an internal situation that should be addressed by the rec board.
Mayor, I went to the rec director in November, December, January, February. I came to the council, which very nicely gave me a meeting. The conclusion at that meeting wasn't, Glenn, you're wrong. Glenn, this is crazy. Glenn, no. I got crickets. Then when I tried to go back to the rec director, that failed. I don't get any response. I don't get any emails. I don't get any calls. These people deserve an answer. These 10 families with 10 kids deserve an answer.
Okay, it sounds like, Mike, maybe we should set up a meeting with the director and hash this out with...
Mayor, I'd love to, but I can't waste any more of my time on this. I'm a senior citizen who volunteered his time and his daughter's time, and we are absolutely sure what I'm saying is true. I gave you those emails. If you read them carefully and not just ignore them, you'll understand the situation.
Thank you. You want to speak?
I did want to speak, Mayor. There was quite a few things that Mr. Peragano had touched on that's a bit concerning. I'm not sure what's happening. One, I think it's unfair to have all these things that are about a person that's not here to defend themselves. There was a lot of comments
He had
made
plenty
and-
of chances to defend himself.
me.
Glenn, let the lady finish,
Hold on a
please.
sec. He's not here to defend himself as to some of the comments that you made. I'm also was a part of many meetings where we sat down and went over whether it was recreation advisory meeting or private council meeting, where we sat down and went through all your concerns and we responded to your emails, we gave you proof.
No, you didn't. I didn't get responses.
We sat down, we gave you proof, we went through.
Proof of what?
We told you exactly what happened with
No,
your
you
team.
didn't. No, you didn't.
We had many, many meetings, and at the last recreation
had one
advisory
meeting.
meeting, we had meetings with the council, we had meetings.
I had one
with-
meeting.
We had few meetings with the council, the mayor, Terry, Lorraine, myself. Then we had meetings, smaller meetings. We had recreation advisory meetings where the Recreation Advisory Board discussed this. We sat down, the chief has given you much of his time to go over your concerns, and we sat down and we went through, we gave you proof that we answered emails and went through concerns to pinpoint exactly what went wrong in the season. We even had the parents come to those meetings at the Recreation Advisory meeting to advise that the change that they requested inadvertently affected your team for the whole season. If you remember that meeting, those parents came and spoke about no one intentionally sought out to hurt any children. And that accusation is concerning because there's not one adult here or in that program who signs up to hurt children. Throwing in that we gave a raise because he was here to satisfy his bosses is completely untrue. We don't know where that accusation is coming from, and I can't sit here and allow the accusation to kind of be in the air like that, because that's not what's happening here. And to throw out that we gave him a raise for that is also very, very inappropriate.
So is cheating in rec sports.
There was no one that cheated, and when we
Want me to
sat
read?
down, Mr. Pedagano, I think the problem is that we gave you an answer that you're not satisfied with.
No,
Unless we
that's
tell you-
not it.
I'm speaking and I didn't interrupt you. Unless we tell you that you're right and we're wrong, you're not going to be happy. At the end of the day, we gave you all the information you asked for, and we stand by what happened. It's unfortunate that you had a bad experience. Our recreation director is doing the best that he can. I don't think that he needs to resign for anything like this. We have touched on this issue since February, and no matter how many times we go over it, it's just not enough. And we've utilized all of our resources to sit down and go over your concerns, and it's still, it's only getting worse. And they're getting worse by saying that there's something political happening here, that we're throwing money at a situation. It's completely inappropriate and untrue. And I just have to have it on the record that no, there's no pay-to-play thing happening on a council level. That's not what the recreation instructional program is about. We're here to teach children how to play basketball. I myself am a coach in the same exact program, and my experience was just a little bit different than yours. And it's unfortunate that you had that experience, but every team is not going to go into the sport and win, right? We're there to teach them the sport, and we're teaching them good sportsmanship. And this lingering issue is not teaching them good sportsmanship. It's showing them that if you lost, you have a reason to come here and complain, and that's not what's going on, okay? We did not cheat our children. We did not intend to hurt our children, and it's unfortunate that this issue is still here in front of us after we've utilized all of our resources. And you mentioned a Coach C that you guys were referring to about.
I didn't say Coach C, I
Excuse
said
me, you mentioned a
nobody.
coach. I'm pretty much aware of the minutes from what happened the
okay,
other
if you
day.
wanna
But
outline.
we mentioned a coach, and you want that coach to be suspended from a program, and it's just, we did our due diligence. We did not let the issue go by the waistline, and it's unfortunate you're standing here telling everyone that we didn't do anything at all when we've done all that we could, and we've done a great job of handling your issue. I just kind of feel like until we just give up and you win, that you're not going to let this go. And I don't know how to come back from that.
Because you,
Go on, please. I'm going to let this go on for 5 more minutes, then we'll cut.
well, I'm done after this. If
No,
you could
you
tell
got-
me.
You can rebut.
No,
You can
if
rebut,
you-
but 5 minutes
I
and
would
this is,
like an
the
answer.
discussion's over.
I would like an answer to which reason we were given for the change of players that decimated our team.
The parent came to the meeting, the parent of the child that was removed off your team, and came to the meeting and said they requested that their child be put on a different team for transportation purposes. That had nothing to do with the skill of the child or coaching. It was, I need my child on a certain
And
team.
I accepted that.
And that was the exact reason. There was no other reason besides that there's a transportation issue with a child, so a parent made a request and the request was accommodated. How that ended up affecting the team overall was to be determined after the fact, but that wasn't done to purposely hurt anyone. That's what we're trying to tell you. And that happened early in the season, before the season
You keep
started.
saying me, it hurt children, not me. I'm going to tell you the 3 reasons I got. One from the parent who said, my son was put on your team because there were too many players on his team.
Where did they get that information from?
I just said, a parent.
No, where did the parent get the information from?
From the rec told
Who,
her.
but you have to be specific. It can't just be
Can
a
you
parent
stop?
said something.
The rec director told the parent, who I have name and everything right here, told them that this coach had too many players on his team. So what did they do? They took 2 players off of my team, put it on his team, and he gave me 1. He has 13 players, I had 10. He had 6 traveling players and no girls. I had 3 girls and no traveling players because the 2 traveling players I had were switched before the next roster came out. I ignored it because one of the kids had an issue. I thought that was a problem. But then when Gina said, look what happened, that's when our radar went up.
But Mr. Pedagano, the travel team was not determined when those rosters were made.
Too many people.
One at a time.
Yeah, and I was talking. I had been asking Tashawn for months about this. In regards to your text message, we verbally notified you of the switch as per parental request when you picked up your bag, your basketball bag. That is how you ended up with a new roster. My 2 number 1, number 2 picks went to the best team. He gave me 2 players with 0 skills. So I had 1 player out of 10 with skills. We went through the whole season and we got destroyed. Then I asked why we weren't in the playoffs, and he said, that's just a number thing. That's not something I can do anything about. I said, well, for 30 years, every kid was in the playoffs. This is instructional. This is not the NBA.
Glenn, 1 more minute, and then I'm going to allow her to speak, and then we're going to cut it.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Glenn, Mr. Pedagano, who are the bosses you start this thing with?
You guys.
No, but you mentioned something like, and I don't know the direct quote, but something like, what the rec director went along with something to appease the bosses, and I just...
Well, that's just my take on it, because there's no other reason why anybody would want to hurt children like this. At the end of the season, when I asked for a game for my kids, he showed up with an Englewood team we never saw, 2 6-foot players, and 3 other players that destroyed my team 30-0 with 2 minutes left in the half. If that wasn't intentional, nothing was.
So, and I mean, just to
Danny,
back-
why don't you just read it and pay attention
listen.
instead of trying to tell me I'm wrong? This is the problem here, is bullying. I'm here for children, and all you want to do is protect yourselves and tell me I'm wrong. Well, you know what? I've been up with children way longer than you.
Glenn, did I tell you you're wrong?
Both been alive.
Did I tell you you're wrong? I mean, I got 1 sentence in.
No, I'm sorry, whoever.
Here's-
It's okay, Danny.
No,
You
no.
don't have to parse words with me. I know you.
Right.
You're an old friend.
I know you too.
And don't bullshit me,
I
okay?
haven't said anything. I've said 1 sentence. Can I get another 2 sentences
You
in?
can finish. I have cellulitis on my knee.
Okay.
I
Okay.
really want to be here. I'm going to go
So,
sit down.
I'll make-
You guys can talk amongst yourselves.
All right.
I'll make my point. I have my microphone.
1 minute left on this, then
Yeah.
we're going to move on. 1 minute.
There we go.
He's there. Read that one.
So I'll speak for myself. I wasn't involved intimately. I know some of the council members were involved more intimately because they're the rec liaisons and whatnot. I read everything I see and all that stuff. And I think you made the point, you've made it many times. And if there were structural flaws, if there were issues with how things came together, I would imagine that after all these times that this has brought up, these concerns have sunken in, and you have a new season coming, and if there's validity to everything you're saying, if there's a thing or two that could have been done differently along the path, I'm sure subconsciously, whoever does all this work with the rec and everything will implement that. But I don't see the grand conspiracy, personally. It may be something that you're not happy with, and that's 100% your opinion, but it is being put together as some sort of larger conspiracy that there's adults sitting around that are intentionally trying to children and hurt volunteers. And I'm just not seeing that level of conspiracy. I don't see it. So again, I think we have to figure out how to move forward. The program starts again. Everyone wants the best experience possible, but I think everyone's goal should be, if there is validity in the back and forth, to improve things going forward. But I will speak globally. There's no ill intent from the council. I don't think there's any ill intent from the rec director, and I don't think this specific scenario should or should not dictate what their compensation is. We deal with all departments, all employees on a very high global level, and no one event or one specific thing is going to dictate one thing or another. So again, everyone is entitled to an opinion, but I think the real conversation is, how do we move forward? How do we provide the best possible experience for the next basketball season for all involved? Our energy is best suited in that direction, in my opinion.
Speak.
I have 3 lives here.
Mr. Pagano, we want to keep order here. You had at least 15 minutes to speak, so I think that's fair enough.
Peter Scalaro, 12 Craig Court,
How are you,
Park. How are you? I was told to write a letter to the council and the mayor about an issue with a coach that we've been discussing, about him challenging another coach to a fight. So I did send that to you on May 8th. I have not received an answer, or I was told it was investigated. There were 3 people in that room. 2 people were not called to find out what happened. And I was just wondering, what's the answer?
Mr. Foligno, did we have an investigation of sort?
The recreation director did an investigation, Mayor. It's a personnel matter. We can't discuss it publicly. It's been investigated and it's been handled. That's all I can speak on it.
Okay, I understand, but when an investigation is done, shouldn't all the parties be brought in?
Not necessarily, Mr. Scalaro. It's a personnel matter. It's been addressed. I'm satisfied with the way it was handled. Our labor attorney was involved in it and oversaw it, and we are 100% confident that it was handled the right way. You do not get to know the outcome of that. That's a personnel matter.
No, and I understand that, but shouldn't I have gotten an answer to just say, hey, we looked into it?
That's the recreation director. I was not aware he didn't notify you of that. I didn't do the investigation, so you're not going to hear from me on it.
No, I understand, but it was sent to the council, that's all.
Council's not going to investigate it. The recreation, it's a rec level incident, right? 2 coaches got into an argument. It was investigated by the recreation director. It's not a police matter. People were offered the assistance of the police. That was declined. This was investigated by the recreation director. It's his duty to inform the parties that it was concluded, but not to go any further from there.
No, and I understand, that's a personal.
I didn't know that he didn't tell you.
I just didn't know of what was going on, so my thing was, it wasn't answered, so how do I feel confident about coming back?
I didn't know that he didn't notify you of that. I can speak to him about it, but there's not much more to say.
No, I get it,
It was handled, I was able to see the investigation, the facts, the outcome. I'm the police chief. I've been a police officer for 35 years. I'm very confident and comfortable with the way it was handled, as was the labor attorney, and that's all I can say about it.
No,
And I'm sorry that you weren't notified.
No, that's the whole thing. I just want to know,
Understood.
after 16 years, something like this, I've never seen it in my life.
I understand.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else care to speak? If not, I will close the public session, and may I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Good night, ladies and gentlemen.